Kidd Sampson Public Forum. Our first speaker will be Jeff Hardin. I'm sorry, Jeff Hardin, H-A-R-D-A-N. Thank you. Our next speaker will be Gene Brown.
Good afternoon, Chairman May, Commissioners, staff, and everyone. I'm Jean Brown of 1475 Finley Drive, now for 55 years. I, along with many of my neighbors, have been here at every public forum for approximately a year speaking to you about the Outpost Bayou Townhouse development, which I have opposed. We have not been here before you since January the 5th. I realized last week that you might not know why, and that you probably did not know what had happened with the development. On January 11th, the Development Review Committee denied the Outpost Bayou application, stating that the development was incompatible with the existing neighborhood. The DRC decision was appealed to the Board of Adjustment, and at the appeal hearing on March 9th, the BOA upheld the DRC's decision that the development was incompatible with the existing. There was no further appeal. During this time, communication was not allowed between us and county staff. So we have missed y'all, but here we are. Thank you all for allowing us to speak and for listening to us as we defended our family homes and neighborhood. This has been an educational civics lesson in our local government, one which has awakened our interest in participating. Thank you for everything you all do on so many issues every day. Remember Finley JoJo.
Thank you, Gene. We appreciate you. Our next speaker will be Chris Kerb.
How y'all doing today?
Great.
Last BCC meeting on 420, I mentioned something about a buyout program that's in North Carolina, reference to HMGP. And I wanted to clarify some things. I sent y'all a link. It's the Charlotte Mecklenburg, North Carolina floodplain buyout program. Basically, it's one of the top buyout programs in the nation. They've actually purchased 400 properties since 1999. They have a large tax base. That's how they're able to do it through a local buyout program. So it's not a state available program or a FEMA program. It's actually made up of local and federal funding for 3 different programs that they have. FEMA, which y'all are familiar with, HMGP, they also have a local buyout, and then they have a quick buy. The quick buy is something that you're able to buy homes after a disaster without having them be rebuilt, and that saves a lot of taxpayers' money, so you're not buying homes that get rebuilt. And you know, our federal programs, they're kind of a day late and a dollar short when it comes to funding these projects like buyouts. Flood insurance rate maps, they don't reflect the reality of flooding. That's another problem from federal. We're seeing 50% of our flooding is outside of floodplains, outside the flood hazard zones. And in Escambia County, we haven't even adopted our 2017 flood maps, FEMA flood insurance rate maps. So Escambia County's actually done buyouts locally. There was one done after the 2014 event in your district, 2 of them in your district, Commissioner May. Lloyd Street was one of those, at Lloyd and Green. Hopefully there'll be a pond there in the future. Winday Lane, 1701, that was because of a litigation case, and another one on Talladega Trail. Is my minutes up?
Yep. Can you just finish up? I'll let you finish.
Okay. Anyway, I think this is something y'all should look into from a budget perspective, to look into local funding for quick buyouts after storm events. It's a real good program. I think it'd be beneficial to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. John Kellis. Kellas.
John Kellis, I live in Nature Trail. smart to call me before I got everything written down that I wanted to say here.
That was
I
my divine wisdom.
I listened to a little bit of your discussion this morning. I was impressed by the variety of opinions that were talked about, and I particularly was impressed with some of the things Mr. Bender said, which he would expect, I'm sure. Things about this being a transformational piece of property, a game changer. And one comment about what's the rush? They're not making any more land near I-10. Contrast that with wringing our hands and being publicly worried about losing a deal. It's not meant to be that we compare different bidders' plans against each other. We should be comparing everything we do with the deal that we made, with the competitive, worked out, long agreed to master plan. I mean, that's what it's about. It's about sticking to this master plan. We're not moving the goalposts. We're trying to keep them in the same place. And we haven't changed our goal. We appreciate the different viewpoints, but our demand remains constant. Do what you said you were going to do, please.
Thanks, John. We appreciate you. Next speaker, Teresa Blackwell.
Good evening. I posted a photo of Commissioner Burgosh at the podium when OLF 8 officially passed to county ownership. Is he the auctioneer? Someone commented. Actually, I would say yes. That is exactly what he is. Willing to do whatever a potential buyer wants on OLF 8 for the money. He is more than willing to abandon our DPZ master plan and to do it quickly. What the meeting this morning confirmed is that this is not settled. There is no consensus. You need that committee of the whole meeting that you talked about. A person could get whiplash listening to Commissioner Burgosh's comments. Starts with one thing and ends with something totally different. I never wanted residential, yet he embraces this plan that has twice as much residential as the DPZ plan. Also, it's a false dichotomy, as John Kellis just mentioned, that it's a choice between Breland and D.R. Horton. No, Breland is sitting back. So it's a choice between, actually, we have the master plan in our land development code. So we don't have a plan then. We haven't agreed on a plan as far as this board is concerned. So that's a time to go slow. You don't go fast when you don't have a plan. That's a recipe for disaster. The Horton plan is nothing like the DPZ plan. They may have used the same software, but that's about it. It's an old-style post-World War II development. Before I get cut off, I do want to say, Commissioner Bender, we appreciate you in Beulah. You took up for us. And also, Commissioner May and Barry, and Bender, I appreciate that you want to slow this train down. And Commissioner May, I hope you weren't just trying to get me to say Section 8 at that meeting, that you actually do want affordable housing there. Because one day it's, yes, I do, the other day, and it's like thumbs up, and the next day it's like, I don't care about affordable housing. Well, I'll tell you, those jobs, those warehouse jobs, they won't be able to afford anything but sharing an apartment with somebody else. They won't be able to start, any kind of wealth there.
Thank you, Teresa. I appreciate it. And listen, I don't mix my words. I've been the biggest advocate for attainable and affordable housing, and I'm consistent with that, so thank you.
So you are still for it?
Absolutely. Let's make it all there. Let's make it all.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm starting to learn about it, and I don't want to do that for no reason, so I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Teresa.
Thank you, Commissioner May.
Drake Dimitri. Christina Forster? I'm here just to support my 3 people. All right, thank you. Keith Bowe?
Good afternoon. I've been sent a link to the NAS Pensacola or NAS compatibility study, and in reading it in chapter 6, what stood out to me is there is no established communication forum between NAS Pensacola and the surrounding communities. And when I read through what they require, it parallels a lot of my concerns with infrastructure. And my point being, with all of the tie-ins, we've got to preserve the base or we don't have an economy in Escambia County. So my question is, what are we going to do to communicate with the base? How involved are our plans going to be integrated with the base mission? And what can we do to protect the base, especially now that it's going to be reopened for public access? Is everybody familiar with this, with the study? Yes. Commissioner Kohler? Because as a veteran, my world revolves around this issue, and it ties into the drainage. The drainage is mentioned as far as the outlying basin with some of the other bases and stuff, but everything in this report tells us we need to be planning in order to make this work with the government and with the Navy. So it's communication. And as Zig Ziglar once said, and I was there when he said it, communication is everybody's business. You know, it really is. So I have a few seconds to spare, so I thank you.
Thanks, Keith.
Please get with Commissioner Kohler on this, because this is extremely important.
We'll definitely get with him. Cecilia Campbell. We will not violate the sunshine by getting with you, but anytime you want it on the agenda, we're happy to have it on the agenda.
Can I mention that Drake Dimitri is here now? You called him?
You can, but I've already called for Cecilia.
That's fine.
Thank you.
My name is Cecilia Campbell. I live on Frank Reeder Road in Beulah. I want to first apologize to Commissioner May, because the last time I was here, he was offended by me saying that we really need men of integrity, and I want to give the context to that concern. It was that my understanding was that Breland had not gotten the heads up about the meeting that they were supposed to attend, and I was very thrilled that Commissioner Burgash was very excited about their the quality of their developments and their experience. And so my concern was that if someone who was left behind at Breland Construction Company, whoever was in charge, because everyone else had gone to like we had, to Tennessee or wherever, to celebrate Easter, it was like we understood there's like a little scribbled drawing sent over that really they didn't have the chance to give the quality that we know that they're capable of. And I'm saying this as someone who travels and sees just amazing things that can be done with a really good design, whether it's Bridgestone in Huntsville or the cool things that we saw where 2 of our grandchildren were born in Madison. But we just know that when you hire a really cool designer and you implement what they do, we saw in Madison, Uncle Frank's Road, and Cottonfield, okay? We know what can be done, and that's what we want. But we felt like Breland, we just felt like y'all could contact them and give them 2 weeks and help them out, like what I read this morning, like you're saying, West Marina, what can we do to help them, okay? And meeting this morning, they needed that kind of help. They needed that kind of support to bring their best design. And the place I mentioned, Bridgestone in below Huntsville, their design team was from San Diego or San Francisco. And we have that top quality design, and I just want to hear y'all say, we're going to do it. We're going to implement this master plan. That's what I want to hear from all of you, no matter who it is. We would like to see the best qualified. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine, and I'm never offended, trust me. Drake, Dimitri, Drake.
Thank you very much. Okay, safety of Gulf Beach Highway. It's a very dangerous stretch of two-lane highway. Fasten your seatbelt. I'm going to cram this all in. It's a couple-mile stretch between Navy and Fairfield. There's no light there. There's not even slow-down lights for pedestrian crossings. Some sidewalks have been created in the last few years, but still many areas don't even have sidewalks. There's not a sidewalk on the north side of the street, of the highway between Patent and Sunset and continuing west of Mills. And that's an area where pedestrians have been struck. I know at least one was killed a few years ago. Some have been severely injured. There are no sidewalks on the north or south side of the highway between Mills and Wayne. I posted a video of a wheelchair-bound pedestrian trying to make their way through that area, but there's no sidewalk, not even paved shoulders. Christmas morning of 2022, a collision at Gulf Beach Highway and Sunset resulted in 4 dead, and 1 later died at the hospital. Government put up a small placard to remind people to drive safely at that point, yet still there's not a traffic light there at Sunset. There was a collision the other week that resulted in a couple people going to the hospital in that area also. It's extremely hard making a left turn on Gulf Beach Highway from any of those streets within about a quarter mile of Sunset. It's like an uphill battle. Yet subdivision further down in Sorrento Road gets a traffic light for their entrance. Why doesn't Navy Point when we have a much larger population? Why isn't there a pedestrian child crossing at Patent? Since many students attend the Blue Angel Elementary, living at Navy Point, I think no parent would cross with their children at that point, but they still use cars, so a light near there would make sense. Sometimes we, okay.
Drake, will you finish it up, please?
Yeah, I'll finish up. Thank you, sir. There's also issue of vehicles coming in and out of businesses nearby. I have many professional truck drivers tell me that it's difficult for them to do that all the time. And as a business owner who pays a premium in property tax, I feel my visitors and employees deserve much better. And I feel the residents and friends and associates in the area deserve better safety regulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Drake.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just say a quick comment.
Yeah, please, Commissioner Kohler. The
Drake
floor is
and-
yours. Take your time.
Thank you very much. Drake, and for some of the other people in here, I've got emails. I've sent that off to Chris Phillips. I know the concern at Mills and Gulf Beach Highway. We went to FDOT. We're trying to get feedback. There's mixed feelings on if there should be a traffic light there. I will follow up with you shortly.
Thanks, Commissioner. Zachary Campbell. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I live across the street from Jennings Place. There's 237 houses there, and I have witnessed what has happened from day one. That used to be a cow pasture that had rolling hills and large old-growth oak trees. One of the first things D.R. Horton did was cut down all the old-growth oak trees and bulldoze the rest. There's hardly any trees there now. It changed, and he also changed the contour of the land. What used to be a rolling hills is now sloped. Why? I guess, I guess he can get away with it. I don't know how he could, but after that, he burned all the trees behind a huge pile of dirt, and it burned for days. All those old growth trees, he burned. I also witnessed a complete removal of the initial street paving. All of it was torn up and had to be repaved. That kind of begs the question, was he violating codes knowingly? Be able to try and get away with that? Our neighbors down at Arbor Ridge, just down the road, also had problems with pavement and drainage. D.R. Horton seems to think they can get away with a lot of stuff like that. He doesn't seem to have any regard for the natural environment either. I stopped a county inspector one day, and I don't know what department he's from, and I don't know what his name was, but I asked him, how can they do that? And I named all the things I just named to you, and I don't know what his specialty was. But all he can say was, Mr. Campbell, he pays the fines. I can't believe that. And I implore you to don't trust that guy with,
Zach.
quote, the spirit.
Zach.
The spirit.
All right, thank you. The next speaker is Kent Langham. Colby Thielen will be next.
Good evening, Commissioners. As a pastor here in town, I am here representing the views of many of Escambia County citizens. As you see behind me, what we propose this evening, Commissioners, is very simple. We propose a resolution that would declare Escambia County a safe county for the unborn, and we propose that you pass this resolution as soon as possible. With there being no abortion mill currently active in Escambia County, nor for hundreds of miles in any direction, we have the prime opportunity as a county to express our belief in the dignity and sanctity of human life. And with my remaining time, I want to put before you 3 biblical arguments. Number 1, the Bible consistently teaches from Genesis to Revelation that God is the creator and sustainer of human life. Number 2, the Bible consistently teaches that God forbids murder and hates the shedding of innocent blood. Murder, defined biblically, is the unjust taking of human life, and this is precisely what abortion is. The Bible and scientific evidence are absolutely clear that the life begins in conception, and God warns against taking innocent blood, and he judges those who tolerate such evil. And number 3, Jesus Christ is King and Lord over all, not just the church, but over all, including the governing authorities. And Jesus believes and affirms as the Word of God everything written in the Old Testament. He agrees with the scriptures that teach that God is the creator and sustainer of human life, and he agrees with the law of God that forbids murder. He is the true lawgiver, and he is the true eternal judge. And as officials, gentlemen, you have the responsibility to commissioners to not to oppose Jesus Christ, but to acknowledge him and rule and legislate in accordance with his commands. So we're asking you, commissioners, if you would take our resolution, consider it, and act on it as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thanks, Kent. I'm going to address that capital punishment, too. Our next speaker is Colby Thielen.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. So I'm here also with the Cross Church in Kent, and I would just like to say we have American reasons for believing this. If you're not listening to the law of God, we would want you to consider some points from our tradition as well. Our Declaration of Independence says that we have self-evident truths. These self-evident truths are that we have natural rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Why are they self-evident? William Lawrence spoke in defense of the Civil Rights Act of 1866, and he says, "It has never been deemed necessary to enact in any constitution or law that citizens should have the right to life or liberty or the right to acquire property. These rights are recognized by the Constitution as existing before and independently of all constitutions." And so I'd like to say that, morally speaking, we have a greater obligation to protect life than what's just laid out in the Constitution. The philosophy of the founding generation is that all legitimate governments protect the right to life without discrimination and with equal protection. And we see that in the 14th Amendment as well. State governments and local governments have the ability to do this. I'd like to speak on Roe versus Wade as well. In Roe versus Wade, the decision was made based on a lack of scientific consensus for when life begins. And I just want to say that there's an avalanche of evidence that life does begin at conception, right? Zygotes have a complete human genome, which guides them through development through their entire life. That's the definition of a human, right? 68% of high-ranking academic biologists, most of whom are secular, believe that life begins at conception. And so I just want to say that it's the will of the people, based on the fact that we have no abortion clinics around, that, sorry, may I finish?
No, you're finished. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Colby.
Thank you. It is the will of the people, based on the fact that we have no abortion clinics around, that Escambia County be completely safe and equally protect all human life. Thank you.
Thanks, Colby. Next, George Levy.
Hello, Commissioners. I'm George Levy. I have just a couple comments for the night. OFA debate on commercial jobs and low-cost housing. What would happen if people got better jobs, better pay, so they could afford better housing? In hindsight, just think of the Space Force decided OFA was a perfect spot for their headquarters. Think about the potential high-paying jobs there. Homelessness. Has anyone sorted out who could be really helped with just a little assistance versus those who are urban Boy Scouts living off the land or looking for a handout? How many resources have gone into studies and admin versus actual helping those in need? Number 3, ECUA recycling is shut down due to resource limitations, I've heard. I don't understand that, but has anyone looked at those homeless looking for a job and the ECUA recycling resource issues? How much training does it take to sort out paper, metal, plastic, and glass? Lifeguards. Why isn't there a direct usage tax on those taking advantage of the service, such as bed tax, instead of asking citizens of Century to subsidize the hotels and condo owners on Perdido Key and Pensacola Beach? Storm season is coming. Are the new houses built better than the ones blown away? The proof will be in the pudding soon. Thank you.
Thanks, George. Andrew Stewart.
Thank you, Commissioners, for letting me speak this evening. I'm a resident of Beulah, live in a Nature Trail, Lupine Lane. This evening, I'd like to make 2 comments, and first of all, and that is that, as we're looking to what we want to do in our community, we have spent a lot of time and effort trying to develop a plan, and I think that we need to keep in mind what Daniel Burnham said about making no little plans, for they have no magic to stir men's blood. We have an opportunity to make a plan. We have developed a plan as a community, and that plan was the one that DPZ designed. Prior to coming to Huntsville in 2009, or excuse me, coming to Pensacola in 2019, I was a resident of Huntsville, and I visited the sites that were developed in Huntsville by DPZ. And I will tell you that the shops that are there are vibrant. The restaurants are overflowing with people. The community is focused on that point, and it really adds and enhances the life of the community by having such well thought out, structurally designed, properly designed facilities that they can use as a community. And I would recommend that you not jump to a quick and easy solution, and you should not make little plans. You should make big plans. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Andrew. Tim Smith.
Thank you, gentlemen, for letting me speak. I want to talk about public access in Navy Point to the water. I've spoke with Commissioner Kohler and asked him to help me with some issues that I've been having with public access. I've even brought it up here at the last meeting. Nobody has still returned my call or got back to me about if they've spoken with the individual I had the interaction with, so I don't know what's going on with that. But I do want to bring up a point that we are having several condos built in our neighborhood. That's going to increase the population by quite a bit. Those people are also going to want to go down to the waterfront. They're going to want access down there too. So it's not only going to be me up here in a few years, it's going to be them too. So I'm coming here like I came to you guys when we had the Living Shoreline debacle, which we now know what's going on with that. We need to get ahead of this. Parking issues along the waterfront, the easements, the people are landscaping the easements in front of their houses to keep the public out. If y'all are giving away land, I want that parking space in front of my house. I'm gonna go ahead and start bricking it in tomorrow. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Anita Gainer? Anita, sorry, Anita.
I was going to say it's only been a year. And green's accidental, it should be red. I was in a rush. Anyway, so my name is Anita Gainer, and I live on Finley Drive. And first, I want to thank y'all for all your support. We are very, very grateful for your hard work and support sincerely. That's number one. Number two, now I would like to talk to you about a comprehensive plan. I would like for y'all to consider the fact that we need to get a really good comprehensive plan together for the county. I noticed that the city's doing it, and it would be wonderful if we did it at the same time the city's doing it, so I can get to work faster, y'all can get to work faster, all these wonderful things. I'm going to give up the rest of my time, but please, I'm hoping that you would consider seriously a comprehensive plan to guide the county so we can get away with some of the zoning problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. Our next speaker will be James Hunter.
God moves in mysterious ways. If you thought about how did abortion really come to a stop? If you go out anywhere and look at, go to the mall, go anywhere you want to, how many people are looking at this thing? And when they look at this thing, what they see are images. And what began to happen was, oh my gosh, that's a child. All over the country, you've got sanctuary cities for all kinds of unmentionable things. Pensacola and Escambia County has the opportunity to do something fundamentally different and to do something that why God has changed the hearts of people all over not only the country, but the world. I have a nephew, and that little child should not be alive. He was 23 weeks old in the Mount Sinai Hospital in New York. He is now a bouncing baby. A friend of mine from Australia who his daughter is married to a professional baseball player. That little child was 24 weeks old. Again, would be dead at any other time. God moves in mysterious ways. Let us do something that shows who we are as a people that truly is a beacon of light to the rest of this country and to the rest of this world. There's a reason why people look at this phone and went, oh my gosh, when they look at their computer screens and go, oh my gosh. Remember that. And I think what will happen here would be beauty beyond what we can imagine. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Tyler Miller.
Afternoon, folks. My name's Tyler Miller, and I'm the Republican running for sheriff here in Escambia County. And the last month I was here, and I told you guys that I found proof that the sheriff misappropriated $276,000 of our taxpayer money to put up stupid billboards. And I sent that proof to y'all in an email, and I didn't hear a lick's worth from any of y'all. Aside from Mike Kohler and Pam Childers, there isn't a single person in government here looking out for the taxpayers and the middle-class families in this county. So I'm done talking to the politicians. I'm going to talk to you at home. You, the mothers and fathers of this county, you are honest, hardworking, wholesome people. You struggle to raise your family, and yet the only thing you want for them is to be happy and successful. And you look around at our county and you wonder why we are one of the worst ranking school districts that continues to fail your children here in this state. You wonder why 1 in 5 of our people here is poor. You wonder why the roads are falling apart. Where is this money going? There is so much money. I mean, $300,000 spent on advertisements, $15 million that our mayor wants to spend on a sailing team, $3 million for tennis courts, $1.5 million for luxury apartments and condominiums, which is nothing more than corporate welfare for a project that you and your family will never even be able to obtain. So ask yourselves, folks, who's looking out for you? I want our families to know that I am the anti-corruption candidate running for sheriff. My plan to address this corruption when none of the other politicians will is that I am going to establish an anti-corruption unit, and we are going to routinely audit every city, county, and nonprofit budget when they spend your taxes. It's about time that we start investing in our families again. It's about time that every penny of our taxpayer money finally went into revitalizing our education, our infrastructure, and our economic opportunity so that you and your family can succeed again. I'm Tyler Miller, and I'm the Republican running for sheriff here in Escambia County. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. We stand adjourned. We'll start the meeting at 5:30. Thank you.